With the popularity of the Sonic the Hedgehog video game, it was only natural for an animated series to be created. However, in the case of Sonic, there were 5 shows made in total, each with varying degrees of quality. The first series made and released was The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, produced by DiC Entertainment. The show aired in syndication on weekdays and was quite popular upon its release. It was also absolutely insane from start to finish. They were incoherent, featured really lewd characters, and I'll admit, it was quite stupid. Yet it's oddly enjoyable too. With all of its craziness, it was an entertaining series, and the oddball feel of it almost adds to its charm. There's no rhyme or reason behind what happens, and the show has no sense of logic to it. But who's looking for logic in a show about a blue hedgehog? Sonic was voiced by Jaleel White, who at first seems like a strange choice for the part, but he managed to imbue all the necessary charm of the character. Robotnik, however, was not portrayed quite as well, as he came off as a giant idiot who is hardly much of a threat. For all the wackiness of the series, though, what most people remember are the public service announcements, aka Sonic Says. Everybody is familiar with the infamous sexual harassment bit. My favorite bit is one that would probably never pass the censors today, despite its good intentions, as it shows Tails smoking. Simply put, The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog is not meant to be taken seriously, and with that frame of mind, it's a fun show to watch, although I don't think I could tolerate watching all 65 episodes. Interestingly enough, when DiC pitched that show to ABC, they largely disliked it and found it to be a really stupid show. So they created another Sonic show for the network's Saturday morning lineup. They hired a whole new team of writers, brought in Jaleel White for the voice of Sonic, and the result was Sonic the Hedgehog Saturday AM. While I do like adventures, this is in a completely different league, relying on character development, story arcs, and serious depth. It was dark, intelligently written, and kept you fascinated through each episode. The series revolved around Sonic leading a group of freedom fighters as they try to stop the evil Dr. Robotnik, who has now taken over Mobius. Sonic is joined by Princess Sally Acorn, her smart independent thinker and the heir to the Mobius throne, Bunny Rabbit, a half-rabbit, half-machine, Antoine, a cowardly French coyote, and Rotor, a walrus mechanic. Why a walrus is hanging about with a group of woodland animals, I have no idea. Tails is also on the show, though once again playing the role of the innocent follower, though he's given more to do by the end of the series. What really makes the series work is that the writing never dumbs down the material, and it is actually written with adults as the target audience rather than only aiming it at children. The series is dark, not every episode has a happy ending, and Robotnik is one really threatening villain. The score has a nice moody feel to it too, and very comparable to that of Alan Silvestri, the composer behind Back to the Future. Both the music and the art direction really transport you to this world. The voice actors do tremendous work, with special kudos going to White, Kath Soucie as Sally, Rob Paulson as Antoine, and the always amazing Jim Cummings as Robotnik. The first season does an excellent job of setting up the characters and situations, but it's season 2 where the writers really got rolling and turning Sonic the Hedgehog into a landmark series. The final 4 episodes consisted of a whole story arc in which Sonic and Sally discover more freedom fighters, they team up, and plan to finally stop Robotnik once and for all. These episodes were so good they could have been combined to make a feature film, as each one depends on the next. The best out of all of these is the final episode, which ended absolutely brilliantly and was a fitting close to the series. Well, except for one major thing. The creators were hoping that ABC would renew the series for a 3rd season, so they left in an ambiguous cliffhanger. Unfortunately, they were cancelled. There was a comic book series made, though, that continued the story created by SatAM, using the same setting and characters, as well as integrating some of the video game mythology as well. Overall, Sonic the Hedgehog was a wonderful series, and I will even go so far as to call it the Firefly of animated series. It is that good. In 1999, DiC made its 3rd Sonic the Hedgehog animated series, bringing back a lot of the same talent who worked on the previous series. However, instead of a 3rd season, we got Sonic Underground, a massive letdown. While it's certainly not a bad show, it is rather weak in many respects. The series only brought back Sonic and Robotnik and featured a world that, while inspired by SatAM, was also somewhat different. In the show, Sonic is the son of the Queen of Mobius and the brother of Manik and Sonia, which is quite new for Sonic, whose only previous relative was his Uncle Chuck. After hearing of a prophecy about the reign of Robotnik, the Queen separates the 3 Hedgehog siblings and runs off into the night. The 3 grow up, meet, decide to find their mother, as well as defeat Robotnik, And here's where the show goes in an unnecessary direction. They become rock stars. Essentially, rather than power rings, they get their supersonic abilities from rocks around their necks that turn into musical instruments that cause them to play really lame duck rock songs. Why? I have absolutely no idea. In an interesting casting choice, Jaleel White plays not only Sonic, but Manic and Sonia. I can buy him as Manic, but why get him to play Sonia? In fact, she sounds an awful lot like Steve Urkel. It really detracts from the character. They should have gone with Tress MacNeille, even Kath Soucie for the role. The whole thing just feels like cutting costs and a cheap gimmick to boot. Sonic Underground was mainly noteworthy for one major reason. It marked the animated debut of the ever-popular Knuckles the Echidna. In one of the few episodes of the show I watched, the writers actually gave his first episode the same plot as Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which allowed it to be quite an interesting episode. Outside of the novelty factor of seeing Knuckles, though, I'm still unable to muster much enthusiasm for the show. It felt like the writers tried to aim at a younger demographic rather than a larger one with SatAM, for fear that this show would be cancelled early too. The jokes are not that funny either, and the writing is not quite as smart. The episodes were also cliched, and I frankly cannot get attached to the characters. Plus, Robotnik's voice isn't quite as menacing. I know it sounds like I'm really nitpicking the show, and it's certainly not bad, but being the younger sibling of SatAM, it's hard to live up to that quality. The show ultimately lasted for only 40 episodes, and unlike the previous Sonic show, the series finale did not even end with Robotnik being defeated. They don't even find their mother. In 2003, the fourth Sonic the Hedgehog series was released, entitled Sonic X, yet it was quite different from the other series for a number of reasons. Rather than DiC Entertainment, the show was produced and animated by TMS Entertainment, the Japanese animation studio behind Kachiro Otomo's Akira. Thus, the show was later dubbed for international audiences by 4Kids Entertainment, and most shockingly, Jaleel White was not brought on to voice Sonic. The show premiered on Fox and instantly became the longest-running Sonic cartoon with 78 episodes. Now, I did not watch this show when it was on the air, as this was during the time where I briefly stopped watching animated series. However, in preparation for this video, I decided to watch the first two episodes of Sonic X, and I have to say, I was very pleased with what I saw. As expected, this series was a tad more action-oriented than previous shows, but the slick animation allows it to have the hyper-fast pace necessary in a Sonic the Hedgehog action series. And while Jason Griffith doesn't match Jaleel White as Sonic, he still does a nice job portraying the Blue Hedgehog. As for the story, what I gathered from it is Sonic is accidentally transported to our dimension, where he causes quite a ruckus by the perplexed humans who have never seen a supersonic blue hedgehog before. Finally, he befriends a young boy named Chris, and is also joined on his adventures by Tails, Cream the Rabbit, and apparently Knuckles joined in too later on. Dr. Robotnik is once again the villain on the show, except he's instead referred to by his Japanese name, Dr. Eggman, which I personally always found to be a downgrade from Robotnik. Anyway, this series is actually better dubbed than other shows that 4Kids worked on, like a certain show about little pocket monsters. The writing is also fairly good, with Sonic providing some funny lines too. Is it on the level of Sonic SatAM? From what I've seen so far, not really, but it is a generally entertaining series, and I like the idea of Sonic being transported to our world. The anime style also suits Sonic's look quite nicely. And now we have a brand new Sonic the Hedgehog animated series called Sonic Boom, which currently airs on Cartoon Network. This is probably closer in tone to Adventures than the other Sonic shows, but that's hardly a negative. It's actually quite a funny series, with Sonic still being that sarcastic and likable self. What's particularly humorous is the relationship Sonic and the other characters have with Dr. Robotnik. While he is constantly trying to defeat them, there's a weird kind of friendship there, probably not unlike Mario's with Bowser. 1 second, Bowser's trying to steal the princess, and the next minute they're golfing together. Sonic also has some nice interaction with Tails, and while certainly a departure from earlier incarnations, Knuckles the Echidna, as kind of a lunkhead, is actually pretty funny. The visuals are really impressive, especially for being a CG show on a television budget. I guess the best word to describe Sonic Boom is cute. It's a solid and funny cartoon, with the characters being well represented, and the changes they do give them actually elevates them. For me, I think SatAM is definitely the best of the Sonic the Hedgehog animated series, but Adventures, Sonic X, and Sonic Boom are a lot of fun too. There's just something about the character that just lends himself to an animated television series. Oh, and I really like some of the games he starred in too. So to conclude, please comment and let me know what you think of the vast and exciting world of Sonic cartoon series. See you next time.